young people trying this time without realizing they're spent on their drugs, overdose. I see the eyes of people who I was not able to save. And not only have I seen people out on the streets overdose, but I have friends who have overdosed as well. I don't think people understand how all-encompassing, how fentanyl can take over somebody. They're just not themselves. They're a totally different person. And it's so addictive. They're just chasing their next high.
This has been a Rainier Avenue Radio message on fentanyl in our communities.
Hey, Seattle, tune in to Lidline Sports every Monday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m.
What up, yo? We are back. This is Pep and the man that don't take no mess, Mr. O-B-I-S, Mr. Stevenson. What say you?
I hope you see the hat that I'm wearing right now. That's how mad I am.
I do. Man, you are angry.
I just want to make that be known. Tune
in to Lidline Sports every Monday, 7 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Lidline Sports.
Hello, I'm Tony Young, and every week I will be your guide to the music of the Fab Four with my show With the Beatles. John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, those four lads from Liverpool. First airings are Tuesday night from 7 to 9 p.m. with repeats on Thursdays and Saturdays from 8 to 10 a.m. right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. Tune in to catch Beatlemania.
A new law is helping people save more money on prescription drug costs. You may also be able to save with Medicare's Extra Help program. Your premium cost can be zero and your out-of-pocket expenses are low. Who should apply? Single individuals earning less than $23,000 a year, married couples earning less than $31,000. Even if you don't think you qualify, you should still check out this program. Visit ssa.gov/extra help. Medicare costs are covered by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
Rainier Avenue Radio.
Hello? Hi, Tina.
What? Fate and Money.
Hello.
2026. How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Am I freezing on you or I'm okay? I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Staticky, freezing, not.
I'm going in and out.
Constantly moving. Oh well, you're here, but it's like little snapshots of you. I don't know what's going on. Now you're frozen.
Let me.
Well,
I'll get back in. I'll get back in.
You back in. I am. Look at my background, people. Happy New Year, everyone. My background in Seattle, raining. Do you see? Raining and with the umbrellas, but still having coffee. It's a coffee shop. People are still enjoying their coffee and in the rain. It's a little windy at times, but typical weather here. It's cold. It is cold, but no snow. And it's really light out in the mountains. So, no snow there either, Gears, sorry. But that's what's happening. Today we are going to talk about how you buyers and sellers out there need to prepare for this year's spring market. It's coming around the corner, and you know what? I have a lot of friends, agents that know of other companies listing right now for January to get ready for an early spring market. So everybody's getting ready for, should be a good year for real estate, and the rates continue to fluctuate, but still going down a little bit here and there. So buyers, Tina will talk to you buyers as to what you need to do to get ready on her end. She takes care of all my buyers, and then I will get the buyers the right homes, and the right homes sellers are exactly what you need to do to get your home ready for this upcoming market. It's going to be really crazy, I think, and increases in prices will be moderate, not double digits as they have been in the past, but the market is pretty balanced right now between sellers. It's not a seller's market, not a buyer's market, getting to be pretty even on that end. And in Washington, local supply is still really tight, been tighter than the national average, but remains so in 2026, especially in desirable metros. And those desirable metros are tending to be outside of the Seattle city area. And so prep for your buyers. Maybe I'll go ahead and continue talking about sellers, because that's kind of the focus right now, is getting more inventory out on the market. Sellers, declutter. You're thinking about spring cleaning. Now's the time to spring clean, especially if you're thinking about getting your house on the market this year. Declutter, and when I say declutter, it's like everything when you get your house ready to list. Declutter means get all personal items out of the way, out of sight. You don't want people coming in and knowing who lives in that house, right? You want to keep the sellers anonymous, especially with kids. So take pictures out of the way, you just, with people in it in particular, not landscape photos or stuff like that. Those are fine. But anything personal, and then breakables or antiques, stuff like that you don't want to have touched. People will touch your stuff regardless of what you say or do, but they will. They want to examine all the little things, and we don't want items walking out of the house, so to speak, right? Let's see, what else should we say to our sellers? I think
I'm here.
Okay, so
I'm here.
Yeah, let me.
Am I better?
Telling them, yeah, that's a lot better. Yes,
okay,
it's a
great.
constant motion. But I was just telling the sellers, we're talking about how, or buyers and sellers in 2026, where you want to help you prep. And so I was going over a few things with the sellers, because I want you to handle the buyers, because that's, you're getting buyers loans. But I was explaining how price, for agents, just keep comps updating, so for your sellers, because you want to make sure you're priced right. You don't want to come in as some people have done an overprice and then, head down with the market. If inventory is not going, people will continue to lower their prices, and you don't want to ride that train down the hill, right? And get your budgeting for staging and inspections. Do a pre-inspection, folks, because that really, really helps. And it especially if it's close to when you're listing, a pre-inspection in your supplements is so important these days that it has you stand out from amongst all the other options buyers have out there. That you're prepared, you're ready, you know what's wrong. They know now what's wrong, and if anything needs to be remediated, you can take care of that before your listing goes on the market. Staging is important, especially if you're in the higher price ranges, because people want to know that this is a very much loved home, and they want to see how people have used the space in those homes, you know, whether it's entertaining or personal space, but just have that ready for the buyers to see what they can be doing. And I've had buyers come in too. They say, you know, hey, who's doing your staging? Because can we buy some of that furniture? And some stagers won't. They're trying to keep their inventory because I actually, in talking with one of my main stagers recently, she has had, and this was last week before even the end of 2025, she has had 16 listings already for the month of January, and she's just one stager. So, you know, people are, agents out there are knowing that staging can be a very important factor in how you sell that house, right? And be patient. Quality listings will still attract buyers, and just be ready, you know, agents, with your comps, with all the photography, the staging, and sellers. Before all that, again, declutter. You want to get your space looking as nice as possible to stand out amongst the upcoming listings for all the different areas. Okay. Is there anything else you can think of, Tina, for sellers that?
Well, I just think that sellers need to have an idea of how the prices are doing in their neighborhood. Sometimes sellers come in and they're 20% above market just because they say it should be that. And so, you know, a lot of times the sellers, if you just do a synopsis of your neighborhood, I mean, get on Zillow and find out, you know, what the prices of houses are going for in your neighborhood. So when your agent actually does come to you and says, hey, you know, we're going to ask for 1.2, you know, and you say, oh, no, it's got to be 1.6. You know, you want to make sure that you're well aware that your realtor is coming in at market price.
Yeah, be realistic. You know, now's not the time to be playing around when we're coming into the season where there's going to be a lot more buyers, a lot more competition for homes that are available, and there's going to be price wars and all that coming up, I would imagine, right, Tina? And
yeah,
you just want to be priced correctly.
That's correct. Yes. Yeah. So with buyers for 2026. Let's talk about buyers for 2026. There's a lot of things that you want to think about. First of all, if your goal is to buy a house in 2026, then I'm talking to you. If your goal is to buy another house in 2026, I'm talking to you. And also, if you're looking to refinance your properties, I'm talking to you. So a lot of times when we first apply for a home, you need to turn in all your income verification. You turn in all your mortgage verification if you have a mortgage right now, all your insurance information. So from the get-go, you're going to need a bunch of information to turn into your lender. Now, this is the perfect time because it's tax season, right? Tax season from January 1st until April 15th or whatever. And so at this time, you're going to be pulling together all of your income in the first place, all your paperwork, you know, what you've paid out for expenses and what you've took in as income. So this is a perfect time to be gathering everything for your prospective mortgage loan officer so you can get a loan. So right now, taxes are going to be first and foremost. Now, Violeta, if we do have somebody that buys a home, let's say in February, lenders are not going to ask for 2025 tax returns because taxes are not due until after April 15th. So, you know, if you've got something going on or what have you, don't worry about yourself getting taxes right now until after April 14th. We don't care about your 2025 taxes. We care about your 2023 and 2024. Okay, so but it's still good to get all your income together. So right now the government has got until the 31st of January to mail out all the 1099s and all your W-2s. that sort of thing. If you're a business owner, it won't be until October. But I'm talking to people right now who are W-2 or employee. So you gather all their W-2s and your 1099s. If you had employment, unemployment, or anything like that, gather the 1099s for that. If you had extra income on the side, gather your 1099s, gather all your information as far as income to give you a tax person. And that actually is the same income that we're going to need to see. So while you're gathering everything, just put that in the pile for your mortgage lender. Also, this is a good time of the year where people look at their interest that they've had on their 401k, their checking account, their savings account, their mutual funds. So you've got all that interest earned on all your different accounts. While you're at it, make sure that you put aside your balances, your statements for all your mutual funds, your stocks and bonds, your 401k, your checking, savings, and more money market. So Violeta, I can't tell you how many people come to me, they fill out an application, and where it says your bank, your assets, the balance, they leave zero. They completely put nothing on the application. I'm looking, here's your name, social security number, date of birth, where you work, where you live, bank statements. Completely skip it. I don't know, for the love of God, why people would not put that in there. That's what we base our loan off of, is how much money you have. If you got 2 cents in your checking account, it may not happen. If you got $150,000 in a savings account somewhere and you're borderline whether you can be approved or not credit-wise, you're going to be approved. So when it comes to your application, good God, please get your checking account, mortgage statements. I can't tell how many people I look and it looks like transfer from another checking account. And I'm like, oh, what is this? Oh, yeah, I have another $80,000 in the savings account. And it's like, why didn't you tell me this? I've got people who've got $500,000 in this account, $300,000 in that account, $150,000 in that account, and I only need to verify $80,000, and they're playing games with me. So do not play games with your mortgage loan officer when you have all your assets where you're gathering together for your tax returns because of interest earned. Please put that aside for a mortgage loan officer. This is a good time to go through all your debt. So some people have got car loans at 8%. Because 3 years ago, they did some funny stuff with their credit, and their credit was bad, so they have like a 9% interest rate on their car. And now there's some rates that are as low as 2.5 or as low as 5%. And, a lot of these people are like, okay, well, I took out my loan and, maybe I qualify for a refinance. Maybe you qualify for a refinance. Maybe you need to look at all your different credit cards. If you look at all your installment loans and see if you can refinance that. So if somebody's got a car loan at $1,100 a month and they refinance it, maybe they're only going to be paying $700 or $800 a month. And that will make a big difference in how much they get approved for a mortgage. So if you have any installment loans at all, any car loans, personal loans, anything like that, see if you can either pay them off or if you can get a refinance. Sometimes these credit cards that you get at a low rate, for 6 months, 0%. After that, it's like 24.99 or 29.99% on your balances. Yeah. And so, do an assessment. Look at your credit cards. I know you probably have everything on auto pay and, who knows, who cares. But if you want, if you really want to start saving some money, look to see if this credit card you have is at 24.99%. And maybe you can qualify for another card at 8.99. See if you can move that around. So this is a good time in January. Everybody's trying to diet and get in shape and be fit and all this healthy stuff. And they completely ignore their finances. This is the time to look at your finances and make sure they are healthy and in good state. So I have a lot of people, I'm looking at their car loan, I'm like, why didn't you pay this off? You're paying 11.99%. They're like, oh, I completely forgot about that. But it's like a $600 payment, so it's making a big difference how much they qualify for. So before you even get there, in January, look at your debt. What else did I put on here? If you have other houses, if you have other insurance companies, so sometimes I have people who've got 4 houses. And when they apply for a mortgage, I'm going to need to have their mortgage statements for all those houses. I'm going to need to have the homeowners insurance. Some people have Geico on here, Progressive on here, State Farm on there. So make sure that your insurance is all in line, and you want to make sure that all of your mortgages and everything in line. And it doesn't hurt to look at your mortgage statements, whether it's the one that you have now or if you have two other rental properties. Violeta, last year or 3 years ago, we were doing investment loans at 11.5 or 10.9%. Those rates have come down to like 7.1, 6.95. Wow. And that was just 2 years ago. A lot of investors are they got, 5 or 10 properties. They're like, whatever, I cash flow. They don't realize, but while you're doing your taxes or while your CPA is doing your taxes, look to see what those interest rates are. Because if you can save another $300 or $400 a month, maybe $1,000, in some cases $1,500 a month on just refinancing, do that. But this is the perfect time to look at your finances since everything's together for your tax returns. So for me, I say in January, get yourself financially fit. It doesn't take much, V. It may take you maybe 6 hours to get everything together. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 hours a day, you're getting all your checking accounts, your savings accounts, your IRAs. You're getting that all in one little spot. Then you're looking at all your statements from your credit cards, from your car loans, and take a look at that and touch it and see, hey, why am I paying 12.99? I got an 800 score. I can get this. I can get this balance at U.S. Bank over here for 5% or something. Really take a good look at your finances, because if you don't know, you could be losing a lot of money. So I tell people, once you have your taxes and your tax information together, whether you filed before April 14th or not, if you have all that together, then you'll be able to get a loan very quickly. So for us, this is kind of a strange time between January 1st and April 14th, because people have got income that they don't really have together. Usually when I look at 2024, 2023, those taxes are done, their W-2s are done, we've got it all in, it's done. But right now, because we're on this side of 2025, people are still getting their W-2s, they're still getting their 1099s, they're still waiting for their Social Security award letter. All these things, it's kind of in flux. So can we still do loans between January and March? Absolutely. But it is no coincidence that most of the new builds and most of the homes sell between February and March. That is not a coincidence. A lot of people get all their tax information in, they realize how much money they made, and they actually they put in their taxes, and they're getting like maybe a $15,000 refund. And that goes straight to the down payment of a home. So if you're doing your taxes and you're used to getting income back, why not take that income now, and instead of going to Fiji or something like that, put it towards the down payment of a house or to buy a new rate down. So now it's very crucial, January to March. It's a very crucial time, and the more time you spend on getting your finances together, to getting your debt together, the less time you're going to have when you're buying a home. So I tell people now, people are like, well, I'm going to wait until spring when the sun comes out. That's kind of ridiculous. I'm going to wait until September when the kids go back to school. That's kind of ridiculous too. Actually, you buy a house when you need to buy a house.
Yes.
If your car breaks down, you're going to buy a car. You're not going to say, oh, I'm going to wait till spring when the sun comes out. Okay? You're not going to do that. If people say, well, I think the rates are going to go down, I'm not going to buy until November. People have been doing that for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
Knock it off. What happens is when the rates go down, the prices of houses are going to start going up. So a house at $800,000 at, let's say 7% right now, or whatever it is, 6.5, that's going to be different when the rates are 5%. Somebody's going to put an offer on that same house, $50,000 to $100,000 more, and it's completely knock you out off your, out of the competition. So don't say, well, I'm going to wait until spring. Just knock that off, because you're losing money. So you've got people they'll buy a home at $500,000 when the rates are like 8% or 7%. Now that same home is with $550 or $625, and the rates are lower. So all these people are competing for it. So don't sit around, don't wait till summer because the sun's going to come out. Don't wait until the fall because the kid's going back to school. Whatever mythological nonsense that's going through your head, you buy a house when you want to buy a house. When I run out of lipstick, V, I go buy lipstick. I don't go say, oh, well, I'm going to wait till spring when lipstick prices go down. That sounds absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
You go when it makes sense.
Yeah.
Some people have got a job. Some people are going to retire in June. They're going to retire in June. And right now they're making, let's say, base of $9,200 a month. But when they retire in June, now they're going to live off a pension, and maybe that's $4,000 a month. So their pension completely cuts in half. And people are like, well, I'm going to buy a house after I retire. No. You buy a house before you retire, okay? And
yes.
You make sure while you have the money showing on paper, that's when you buy the house. So I just want to...
Yeah, let me ask you this. For people who don't know, there are things for buyers and sellers that are tax deductible. Do you want to go through some of that?
I'm not in compliance to do that. I don't have a license for that. but I'll tell you what I wrote off. But what I write off, my cell phone bill, because most of my phone calls have to do with clients. I write off part of my mileage. I write off my internet. There's things that I write off if I buy some gifts or if I buy educational materials for classes. I write that off. I write my donations, to my church or nonprofits. I write that off, and I also write off so I'm in a band, part time. I'll write off my outfits. I'll write off my travel for that. I'll write off equipment I have to buy or purchase. So there's certain things you can write off. And V, I'm glad you brought this up. That's the most important question of the day. That was the most important question of the day. I don't know. V doesn't know. And in fact, you don't know. But a good CPA does. So I have a good CPA, and Violeta, you've talked to her before. Arlene Ibe, she is the best. But
we need to get her back on the show so that
the show.
She can tell everybody what is tax deductible, because there's a number of things you can count on when you're buying and selling a house, you know.
The closing costs,
right.
You know, if you have to repair something, you know, and
an investor, you can write off everything pretty much. Travel to and from your rental place, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, so the thing is, if you have a good CPA, I can't tell you how many thousands of dollars Arlene has actually saved me, because I didn't know you could write that off. She's like, "Well, Tina, didn't you do this?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Well, you can write that off. Didn't you do this?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I did." And so the more she knew about me, the more money she saved. So you got to get yourself a good CPA. Don't be doing this TurboTax. People be doing TurboTax, making $150,000, $300,000 a year, and they're doing their own, you know, their own surgery on themselves. You know, so it's worth every dime. I don't care if you have to pay $100 a page or whatever it is. It is worth every single penny.
Right.
You know, it's what you need.
That's what we're doing too. And then one final question from me. How much money do buyers need to have ready to buy a house? You know, for closing and down, you know, earnest money, all that. What is a rule of thumb for you to tell these people?
For me, I tell people,
save this much money. If you want to buy a house this year, make sure you have this much money for closing and all that. Go ahead.
Yeah. So what's really nice is, you know, there are a lot of down payment assistance programs out there that only require $1,000 out of your pocket. So at least have $1,000 set aside. A lot of times, if your credit is really, really good, you can have $2 in your checking account. People will approve you. You know, if your credit is kind of you know, mediocre to poor, sometimes you're going to need at least 2 or 3 months worth of the payment of the house, what we call reserves, in a bank account somewhere. We always tell people, as a rule of thumb, you should have 3 to 6 months worth of a mortgage payment. So if you buy a house at $500,000 and the payment is $3,500 a month, times that by 6, you're like at $20,000. Have $20,000 somewhere in your own bank account, not for approval, but just for your own peace of mind. And you know, so down payment, you know, if you don't have 20% to put down, if you don't have 10% or 3% to put down, you can always get a down payment assistance program of $1,000. Now, does that pay for closing costs and down payment? Maybe not. A lot of times the seller, well, you've got your down payment you got to pay for, that's you. And then you've got your closing costs you have to pay for. So if we give you a down payment grant, great. Who's going to pay for the closing costs?
Right.
Well, the seller's not going to pay for it. You know, maybe the seller paid for it. So a lot of times I tell people, ask your realtor to always ask for concessions.
Yeah.
So if the seller says, "I'm going to pay for all your closing costs," boom, bring $1,000 to the table. But if the seller says, "I'm not paying you a dime over," you know, and they're not going to do that, a lot of times we'll lift the purchase price by the closing costs we're asking for. So the house is $700,000. We'll ask for $715,000 and have them give $15,000 back to the seller. I mean, back to the buyer for the closing costs. So you either you pay the closing costs or you ask the seller to pay for it. That's rule of thumb for you. I tell people, if you get a grant, the grant all you need is $1,000. If the seller pays for everything, if the seller does not pay for everything, you're bringing that to the table. And you know, I don't know what the average price is in Seattle, but let's say the average price is about $900,000. $900,000 loan, closing costs may be about $18,000. You know, so maybe put that in the bank. Put $20,000 in the bank if you're going to go almost to $1 million. Okay, if it's under $500,000, I would go for a down payment assistance. I don't care if you have $80,000 in the checking account. I'd always try to do down payment assistance because it's free money. Interest rates are great. First time home buyer. But be expecting to pay at least $1,000 out. And if your seller's not going to pay for closing costs, pay for the closing costs.
Right.
And it is different per person. You know, I mean, because if you find somebody who's going to buy a $2.2 million home versus somebody buying a $320,000 home, those closing costs are going to be, you know, completely different, right?
Yes,
They'll be completely different. So it's kind of hard to say rule of thumb. I just say if you have a down payment, great. If you don't, $1,000. Don't buy a $2.2 million home with $1,000. You know what I mean? You know, there's going to be some limits. But you know, you know, you're posing a very good question. I mean, talk to a loan officer and find out. Maybe you qualify for 1.1 million. You don't know. You know, maybe you qualify for 500,000. You don't know. But if you talk to a loan officer or talk to me, We can say, hey, based on your income, based on your credit, based on your assets, this is your down payment. So I mean, if you tell someone,
Oh no, go ahead. I'm looking at our time. I think we're almost there. But to wrap it up, the number one thing I think for buyers this year, get pre-approved now. Before you even start looking for a house, you want to know how much you can afford. Talk to Tina now.
Right.
Get yourself pre-approved. And then the number one thing for sellers, declutter your home. Get ready to sell the home. Get rid of all the junk. It'll be so much easier. And if you decide, I'm going to refinance and, do remodeling instead and stay here, well, then you're that much closer to a goal of having a nice, clean home. So there you
exactly. Yeah. So we've got some announcements here, V?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Want to make more community broadcasts like this possible? Donate right now on Venmo at Rainier Avenue Radio or online at rainieravenueradio.world/donate through Skunk Pike. And we thank you for helping the broadcast community voices.
Every dollar matters. So
Yes,
there you
every
go.
dollar does.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We look forward to seeing you next week on Real Estate and Money. I'm Violeta Strash with Coldwell Banker Danforth.
And I'm Tina Lombard with the Texana Bank.
See you next
See you
Tuesday.
next time.
2:30. Bye.
Bye-bye.